Meeting at the crossroads where the two forbidden subjects of politics and religion intersect, this is the Sophie Scholl Roundtable, and we're going to get into polls. Yes, polls that give us the sense of the country regarding vaccines. Should they be forced? Kurt, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, I learned of this just this morning. And the person who shared it on Facebook is a guy with The Blaze, Steve Deese. And for those of you that are not familiar with the Trafalgar Group is the polling entity that nailed the 2016 election dead on. Okay? And I believe at the end of the election 2020, going into the election, I think they had Trump winning by a percentage or two, but whatever. These folks came out with a poll. They did it in conjunction with Convention of States Action. Is that Mark Levin by chance? I'm unfamiliar with that group, but the Trafalgar Group did this. Just shy of 1,100 likely general election voters. I didn't print this color, but this is telling.
Yep.
This is a telling chart right here. Question: do you believe taking COVID vaccine should be mandatory, or should the vaccine be a personal choice? You can see this massive bar graph here next to personal choice. 71.4%. These people talk to a combination of 39% Democrats, 36% Republicans, and 25% no party affiliation. So they got a nice little flow of cross-section of America. 71.4% of all of these people said personal choice. Just shy of 22% said mandatory vaccination, and the unsure group was just shy of 7%. This is nearly a 50% swing on an issue. Steve Deese made an interesting point. You'll remember back in 2000, just before election 2008, when Obama was elected, we had the banking system crash, and they had the TARP vote in the fall, just before the election.
Right.
The TARP vote, the money they gave to the banks, was the catalyst for the Tea Party movement. Okay? He is saying the lack of support for the TARP money in 2008 was only 45%. This is almost 50.
Yeah.
This is something that stands to determine elections moving forward, and whether politicians are or aren't for mandating vaccines on the population. And I've come across some other things in recent days. A U.S. congressman by the name of Thomas Massey. He is part of the Freedom Caucus in the House. He's from Kentucky. He and some other congressmen and senators have been getting a lot of feedback from the military. There is chatter of mandating this vaccine on the military, and they are getting feedback from officers and others who are saying, if this happens, there will be mass resignations of command and departure from the military. Imagine what that single decision could do to the U.S. military.
Yep.
They're talking about mass resignations, people leaving their commands. And in fact, I just saw, just yesterday or the day before, Massey and another member of the House have now a resolution insisting that it not be mandated on the U.S. military. But I mean, when you see a poll number like that, and 1,100 general election likely voters. So we're not talking about a lot of the polls that you're seeing, especially in New York. Siena College is doing everything to pump life into Andrew Cuomo right now. But every time you look at one of their polls and you look at the little nitty-gritty details, they're talking to registered voters. I'm telling you, if you're relying on data from a registered voter poll, it's unreliable. These people have a poll from likely general election voters. And when you have a difference like that, this is something that can shape elections long term. And this is a potential flashpoint for voters moving forward. And seriously, the members of Congress, representatives and senators and governors and state legislators hold their feet to the fire. This is something that people care about. And the fact that you have a really long bar and a bar graph and one that's really dinky is an indication they probably have bit off a little more than they can chew.
Yeah, and I would also say that it's very likely that the leftists would be those who would say they should be mandated, whereas those who are more liberty-oriented would say, no, we are opposed to that.
In fact, some of the language that you're now seeing from people on the left in this country is some of these people are in favor of forcing people literally by pinning them down and jabbing them. It's coming to that.
Watch out.
Imagine how well that would go over in this country.
Right. Well, I think we've heard from parents, too, with regarding education, kids being taken to another place to get vaccinations without their parents' permission. The left would definitely be in favor of that. So we are seeing fault lines, as we discussed a while back with critical race theory. Here's one, too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And just one more thing. I've been hearing about conspiracy theories, like Donald Trump will regain the presidency in the month of August. I can't stand those. They really bother me. However, there is one that's getting my attention. It's taking place in Arizona. The vote count, the audit. And to me, I think there's a compelling case being mounted about voter irregularities that have really come to surface.
Let's be clear. The state of Arizona was decided by 10,500 and change votes. And if you get numbers that emerge in the upper five figures or six figures, you're now talking about the numbers of votes that could stand to do something. I don't know what to make of it either. I personally am in favor of just general practice, statewide audits after every federal election. Frankly, I would be in favor of it after every local election too. I mean, it would just be something that you can glean information from and improve your voting system. And frankly, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, you should be in favor of that. It should not be a partisan issue. Oh, you want an audit. That means you think the fraud determined the election and you think the rioters on Capitol Hill were in the right. No, don't be dumb. Our policymakers should be in favor of things that would allow them to make good decisions. And if the voting system needs to be improved, guess what? You should do that. And the system in this country, folks, it's at the county level. Chautauqua County, Mayville, they run the election. Here. It's not Jamestown. It's not Dunkirk. The elections in this county come straight from Mayville.
Right, and what we see in Arizona is Maricopa County.
Exactly.
And to me, there's a lot of votes that are in question. I mean, tens of thousands.
Yes.
And like you say, the margin was like a 10,500. So to me, it's overwhelming to indicate that there was wrongdoing regarding the way that election was done.
Again, if they just normally did a state audit in every state, we would know this by now, and it wouldn't result in come February and all of a sudden the Republicans want to do this and the Democrats are now screaming, oh, you're just doing it for political reasons. Do it. Improve your election if you have a problem.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that they could find if they were willing to actually look at evidence.
Yeah. All right, well, we made this a short version today of Sophie Scholl Roundtable. Thank you, Kurt, for joining me here today.